Hey guys, JJ here, back again with the last Zoom call for March in 2024. Can't believe this year is already 3 months over. Um, our guest speaker today is just a heck of a great guy. He's a good friend of mine. He's out of Pace Morby Sub 2 community. And again, Pace is the genius in the world on creative finance, and his Sub 2 community is unparalleled as the best real estate education platform out there today. The young man speaking to someone I've come to know, met virtually first, met in person, has become one of my closest friends. Can't say enough about him. My good friend, Mr. Justin Cremer. How are you, Justin?
I'm doing great, JJ. Thanks for having me.
Hey, it's a pleasure. Long overdue getting you up here to speak. You've got a lot of knowledge to share. Um, what I wanted to say first of all is, for those who don't know you, where in the country are you located?
Yeah, so I'm in Southern Orange County, California. I'm in a little town called Mission Viejo, which 10 years ago nobody really knew what this was, where I was. But yeah, I'm in SoCal. So
Fantastic. Southern California is a beautiful place to be, as we all know. We got great weather. No tornadoes, no hurricanes. We just got a little thing called earthquakes out here once in a while, but we kind of rock and roll with that.
and highly
Um,
expensive real estate.
of how expensive real estate. Yeah, it's not a landlord-friendly state either.
Right.
Unfortunately, I'm looking to liquidate one of my buildings and take those assets out of state. Um, hey, so let's talk a little bit about yourself, and we met through Sub 2 and become good friends, which I'm really thrilled and pleased about. How did you get into real estate? I mean, as I say this all the time, 16 we're driving, 18 we're voting, 21 we can buy alcoholic beverage.
Right.
What were you doing in between, say, 16 and 26, high school, college, military, nursing,
Oh,
retail
wow.
sales? What was your path after high school? What was real estate even on the horizon for you?
Not at all. Not at all. Not early on, anyways. I mean, you know, after high school, I worked in retail for a little bit while going to college. And I went to college, got my associate's degree, and then I had no clue what I wanted to do. I was like, what? I have no, I don't, I initially thought I wanted to be an accountant. And then very quickly I learned, like, no, I don't want to be an accountant. And so I started learning business. I started taking business courses and decided that I wasn't so passionate about, because when you're learning business, really what they're training you to be as a manager at some point. And the stuff I was learning just wasn't stimulating me. So I dropped out. I didn't go for my bachelor's. I didn't have any clue what I wanted to do. And then so odd jobs, right? I actually worked for a note broker for a little while. Worked for a note broker for a couple of years. Actually, we basically brokered real estate paper, and that was my very first introduction to real estate and creative real estate investing.
How old are you at this point in time in your
I
life?
was probably 21, 22,
Mhm.
maybe.
So it was like 2 years ago. Yeah. Okay.
Actually, no, yeah, no, I was actually more like 18 at that point, 18 to 19 at that point.
Okay.
And honestly, I wish I would have kept with that. I wish I had been more interested in it at that time, but I was, 18, 19. I didn't, investing and preparing for my future was the last thing on my mind at that point. But that was my first introduction, and I shouldn't say it wasn't interesting. It was interesting, but I wish I would have kept with it from an early age. But
So
yeah,
what were you doing in your 20s? Were you continuing with education? Were you
yeah. Yeah. So I played in a band for a little bit. So I was focused a lot on music for a good probably 5, 6 years, actually longer than that, about 10 years. But while I was doing that, I was also taking courses in computers, IT, tech, stuff like that. Because I realized that I was interested in that stuff. And it was really a friend of mine who introduced me to it. And then I started working for an electronics component distributor, started learning more about computers, got more interested, and it was, game over from there for me. So
cool? So you know, as you getting into tech and computing, now you're still doing that today, right?
mhm.
So at what point in time in your tech career did you discover real estate? Did you discover real estate and then step two? Did you discover step two and that was your foray into real estate? How did that come about?
I'd say it was I discovered real estate and then I discovered Sub 2. I was one of the fortunate ones that didn't go and spend hundreds of thousands of dollars on bogus education programs before I met Pace. But I had decided, I think I was probably in my I was in my late 20s, early 30s at that point. And I said to myself, you know what? I really want to give myself an education in um, investing and finance, right? I need to understand how to manage my money, how to grow my money, how to protect my money, all of that, right? So I started doing what everybody does. I started watching YouTube videos, going to YouTube University and, learning from people I knew who were, investment advisors, folks like that. And I would ask them questions all the time. And what's crazy is if you start learning about if you give yourself a financial education, you start learning about how to grow your money and protect your money and all that. All roads at some point lead to real estate. It's
Yeah.
kind of crazy how that works.
Yeah.
But all
Well,
of the wealthiest people in this country and abroad too, I mean, not just this country, have real estate and protect their money with real assets, real estate, and avoid high taxes through real estate and all these things, right? So a lot of these strategies all come back to real estate. It's really, really interesting
yeah.
how it works out. But yeah,
No,
and so that's how it
you
happened.
are so dead on. We could have a whole another show about that.
Yeah.
Tax ramifications and benefits and the benefit of being an investor. Hey, I
Yeah.
wanted to jump right into your topic. We were talking earlier with the people on the Zoom call and it's going a little longer and longer just talking about cybersecurity. But let's jump into that topic, brother.
Yeah.
Let me preface this with saying that about, I don't know, about 2 months ago, Facebook went down. There was some kind of incident, I'll call it, where it looked as though they've been hacked or they've had their system penetrated,
Mhm.
and Facebook shut down for several hours, if not half a day.
Yeah.
And I thought my Facebook page had been hacked. And in trying to reacquire my page, I went to change my login, and I was then completely locked out of my page, even after everybody else got back into their page.
Hmm.
And I thought, oh my God, what did I do? I've completely locked myself out of my page. And you had shown me something about a month before that to protect the integrity of my Facebook login. I contacted you and say, Jay, do you remember that app we put on your phone? I said, yeah. It goes, let's go in there. Let's get your login back. And within 30 seconds, I had my page back. And I was singing your praises for like weeks and months. So
Yeah.
I'm not sure, let's get into the topic of cybersecurity for real estate investors. Where do you want to start with that?
Yeah, this is a really big topic, and so I tried to dilute it down as much as I could because you start talking about tech and cybersecurity, and most people's eyes are going to glaze over, and people are going to check out. So I want to try and make this. My goal is to make this as interesting as possible, and help you at the same time. All of us protect our businesses and our money, for that matter.
Well,
Because yeah.
what I'd like to do is before we get into it, why don't you tell folks what your current background is? Because what you're doing
Sure.
today applies exactly to that, right?
Sure. Yes, it does.
Okay. What
So yeah, so my W-2 is cybersecurity. I work for a company. We're called a managed detection and response company. So MDR is sort of the acronym the industry uses for what we do. We basically analyze exabytes worth of data from companies, right? So we connect to companies' computers. They send us all their information. We look at all their information and say, is there anything evil going on in this information that we're getting, right? In other words, do we see any behavior that looks crazy here? And we let them know, and we let them know ahead of time so that they can take action and take care of the problem, right? And every single company we work with on a daily basis, well, I shouldn't say on a daily basis, on average, on a fairly regular basis, something is going on. Somebody's computer's been messed with in a suspicious manner. Somebody got malware on their system. Somebody got a phishing email. So, the list goes on and on and on. So it's constant, especially with bigger companies, and especially, by the way, with financial companies. And given that we're in real estate, we're in a lucrative financial sector, and that automatically paints a target on all of us, right? And especially the more visible you are, right? So we talk about networking, we talk about, and that's all important. But remember, you're broadcasting yourself as a real estate investor. So what do you think the bad guys are thinking when you say that, right? They're thinking dollar signs, right? So the point of all of this is to take some really basic one-on-one steps to protect your business and protect yourselves, right? And that's the goal. So, yeah.
Exactly, exactly. Facebook, obviously, people are getting hacked. Do you want to talk about that app that you showed me, or you want to talk about
Yeah,
that later? You want to
let's
talk about
go
something
through.
else up front?
I actually created a PDF, and I think, JJ, we should probably put it on the Facebook group at some point. If for like the folks that are watching on YouTube that aren't on this call with us, I shared the PDF with everybody on the call with us. But for folks that want to look at that PDF or download it for the tips I'm giving on this call, you can download it on the Facebook group. Just join JJ's group and go download it. I think that was probably a good idea, right?
Yeah, yeah. We'll actually make that available to the group, and
Sure.
anyone wants to join the group, if you're watching on YouTube, just go to my website and click the register now button. But this is a 15-page PDF, which is going to be about cybersecurity for real estate investors, and what we're talking about today on the Zoom call today, and we'll be making that available for anybody joining the group. So we were talking about that app, but then do you want to talk about that later? You want to talk about something else up front? How
Yeah,
do you?
no, yeah, I will bring up the app. And in fact, so I'm gonna kind of go down the list of the topics. We may run out of time, so I don't, I want to try and get through these
You
as
know what? And I'm
as
I'm
possible.
I'm not going to cut your time on this topic. If this topic goes however long it goes, I
Okay.
think it's valuable. So we're not going to cut your time. You're not limited to half an hour here.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, I'll still try and keep this interesting so people don't fall asleep on
Okay. All right. Go for it.
because
And you
it's
can
I
share
mean
your screen if
it's
you need to.
yeah, it's technology, guys. So it can get, for those of you who are not, hip on some of this, or have no interest really in technology, it can kind of get monotonous, right? But that being said, the first piece here, in fact, I'll share my screen using strong passwords, right? So, and I chose this for a reason, and that's because I'll just be honest, passwords are one of the worst inventions on the planet. Like big companies, our company, every company that is has more than 10 employees should be trying to figure out ways to get out of using passwords. And quite frankly, there's not a good solution yet. I mean, there is some things, but they're hard to set up. It's not smooth, right? So we still are stuck with passwords. So you have to have a strong password. That's where everything starts. The authentication you're using to get into these apps, to get into these programs, your username and password, more importantly, your password needs to be strong. And I kind of break it down here in the PDF and explain what that looks like. But we used to think that, you have to create these crazy long passwords that have to have a bunch of numbers and letters and symbols. And what's the problem with that, right? Is that nobody's going to remember that crap. Nobody's going to remember a 20 character long password. And not to mention, you have more than one of those passwords. So there's no way you're going to remember all of that. Right. So that's why, first of all, passwords get made really simply. People use the same passwords across multiple applications like Monkey123, right? Or I love the Mets, right? And all that. And quite honestly, those folks are the ones who get hacked first, because those are the ones the bad guys are looking for. You're the low hanging fruit, right? Um, so the FBI did a study not that long ago, and they realized that instead of creating these crazy long passwords, you can actually use password phrases, which basically look like this. I'm going to zoom in on this here. Zoom in. I don't know if can everybody see that? Okay, give me.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. So this is what that looks like. You basically put 3 to 4 words, actual real words together, capital letters with each word, and then maybe one special character at the end. And this right here is actually more secure than a huge long string of numbers and characters, believe it or not. And the reason that's true is because of the way passwords get hacked. And I'm not going to go into what that is and how that works, but just know that it's harder for computer systems to figure this out than it is for a computer system to figure out long strings of characters. And part of the reason for that is long strings of characters in your passwords are actually not as random as you think they are. And I'll just kind of leave it at that. But that's the idea. You can actually create passphrases like this that not only are easier for you to remember, but are actually stronger than creating these crazy long passwords. So that's number one, is use strong passwords. That's the first tip. And the second one, I don't know if you and I talked about this, AJ, but is use, if you can, use a password manager. So maybe some folks on the call know what it is, but most people are going to look at me like I've got, something crawling out of my ear. But that being said, a password manager, you can look at it like this. It's a vault. It's a password vault. It's a piece of software that stores all of your passwords and protects all of your passwords. And not only does it store and protect all of your passwords, but it automatically fills them in for you when you go to a website or when you go to an app on your phone. It'll automatically fill them in for you. So the idea is you never have to remember a single password ever again. Well, that's not true. You do have to remember one password, and that's the password to get into your password vault. So that's why the password vault that I use is called 1Password. And that's why they call it that, is because you have to remember one password. The only password you ever have to remember again is the 1Password to get into your password vault. And so that's the idea behind it. There's actually a couple I recommend here on the PDF. I call out 1Password and Bitwarden. They're the two most secure and the two that have the best user experiences, in my opinion. So essentially, if you can see my computer here, like I know you can see my computer screen here, I have it. It's sitting right up here in my Google Chrome browser. I don't know how many of you guys actually use Google Chrome. I want to see like a one in the chat. So a browser is just that program you use to go search on Google, right? So if anybody in here uses Google Chrome, let me know. Okay, we got a few. Cool. Use Edge. Edge is built on Chrome, so it's almost the same thing. So that being said, you guys can install this too. It's really simple. Let me just show you how that works. It's really pretty quick and easy to do. It gets installed on your browser in the form of a little plugin, right? But all you got to do, like whatever password app you're using, you just type it down, 1Password for Google Chrome. And they have it right here in the web store or in the Google store, right? And you just literally, it says remove from Chrome because I've already got it installed, but it would say add to Chrome here. And then you just sign in and there you go. You've got your password manager connected to your Google Chrome, and it will automatically fill in passwords for you. Now, 1Password is not free. It is like $3 a month, right? But Bitwarden, it's the same idea, same exact thing. You can come to the Google Web Store and find it, install it, and that is free. And I'm testing Bitwarden right now, and I actually kind of like it more than I like 1Password. So go test it out. It's not going to hurt anything to go test it out. Just put a few passwords in it and see how you like it. And I'm telling you, it's going to change your life. Because remembering passwords and writing passwords down, just so you guys know, I used to put passwords in my phone. I used to put it in my iPhone on a little notepad. And then I also had a piece of scrap paper that I used to write them all down on. And it's just a headache, right? And then, how many of you guys store your passwords like on your computer or like in your email? Give me a 1 in the chat if you store your passwords on your computer or on your email.
Yeah, not my email for sure.
Yeah. 0. Okay, good. Yeah, so the last thing you want to do is store your passwords in a little file on your desktop called passwords, right? Believe it or not, I've seen people do it. I've seen it, actually I see it a lot, unfortunately, but yeah, you don't want to do that. If you absolutely don't want to use a password manager, there's nothing wrong with writing them down on a notepad and keeping that notepad someplace secure, like in your office. And also with the iPhone is actually one of the more secure devices you can own, right? Without having to do anything fancy. And any hacker will tell you that if we're going to go to a hacker conference, like there's hacker conferences in Vegas all the time. And if you go to one of those, all of the hackers who go there that know better, they don't bring Android phones. They bring iPhones because iPhone has a limited footprint, let's just say, and it's a lot harder to get into an iPhone than it is to get into an Android phone. Similar to Mac and Windows, kind of think of it that way, right? Um, so you can store your passwords like I used to do on a notepad on your iPhone. You can do that, but obviously you don't share that stuff and you don't store it. You don't want to store that stuff in the cloud. You don't want your phone to back that up to like iCloud or something, right? So be careful with that. That's why I say if you just don't want to use a password manager, write them down. Like that's the really, if we're talking security, that's really the only other really secure way to do it. So anyway, start using strong passwords, start using a password manager. And we can talk later, guys, if you have questions about that, and I can go deeper, but this is a big one. How many of you guys have shared your passwords with other people? I've done it. Like, feel free to admit it. I've done it. I've shared my password with people because it's just easier. Like, oh, JJ and I have done that, right? And hey, you need to get into my Zoom. Here's my password, right? Because it's just easier. And that's okay through one password. That's good. That's not bad. But even still, even if you're sharing it through one password, you're still sharing your password with someone, and you don't know if that other person you're sharing your password with has a infected computer, let's just say, right? And that's the big deal. Is it's not that like the person you're sharing with you don't trust or anything like that. It's that you don't know what's going on their computer and on their devices. So do yourself a favor. If you really need to give someone access to your system, or to your application for whatever reason, go log in for them, right? Don't share it with them, or create a separate login for them or have them do that, right? And then number 4 here is and this is where we talked about the Google Authenticator app, JJ. Start using multi-factor authentication. And I even put it right up here, like what in God's name is multi-factor authentication, right? Um, think about it like this. When you log into a website, you put in your username and password, right? And then you log in. Well, with multi-factor authentication, you put your username and password in, and then it pops up a little message that says, hey, give me your multi-factor authentication code. So you have to give them an additional factor, an additional code to get into your application. So if I'm a bad guy and I hacked your username and password, I got your username and password. That means not only do I have to have your username and password, but I also have to have your phone too in order to get into that application. So this is really big. And this is what protected JJ, right, from the whole Facebook thing. Because I'm telling you guys, the whole Facebook going down thing, I guarantee you we're going to start finding out that there was people that had their accounts stolen from them, right? And the ones that had multi-factor set up were protected, like JJ will attest to. So, and if it didn't happen this time, it's just a matter of time until it happens again. So think about it that way. And we can go over that. So actually, JJ, maybe what I do is I go into Facebook real quick and I show folks how to set something like this up. It's actually not as difficult as it may sound at first.
Sure.
So let's do this. I'm going to go into my Facebook. Now, I've already got multi-factor set up on my account. So it's probably not going to work the same way it will for you, though you'll get different prompts, for example. But the very first thing I do, okay, so here is you can see all these different authenticator apps that I have on my phone. That's overkill, obviously, but that's because of the business that I work in. You guys don't need that many authenticators. You can just use that one right here in the middle, this guy that I'm moving around. That's the Google Authenticator app. And you literally just go to the App Store and go look it up. Google Authenticator.
There it is.
And there it is right there. It's the one with that looks like a everlasting gobstopper, right? That's the way I like to picture it. Anyway, so you install it on your phone and it's doing what JJ showed us earlier. It's literally just generating codes, right? And I probably shouldn't share that, but still, you get the idea. It's generating codes, and actually, it's okay because they're getting recycled every 30 seconds. But they're generating codes, and these are for all my different. I mean, I have hundreds. I have about, I want to say 270 different logins for different applications and whatever
These
because of what I do.
yeah.
But that protects all of them, right? I don't have to worry that if I get my password, my username and password stolen, that people are going to get into my account, right? So that's a big deal. And all you do on the Facebook side, so let me stop sharing my iPhone and go back to, so if you go to your user icon here and you go to settings and privacy, and by the way, guys, I'll talk about this in just a few minutes, but securing your social media, literally your settings and privacy settings in Facebook translate over to Instagram too. So all you got to do is set this up once, which is kind of nice. And it carries over your settings. I think it actually asks you on some of the settings if you want it to translate over to Instagram. It's been a minute since I've done this, but so again, you go to settings and privacy and then settings, right? And you can actually go to privacy center right here just from the settings screen here and click on privacy center. And this should take you to this page here. Now, there's obviously a lot of settings in here. So what I like to do is I like to just do the search. So like right here, you see this little search bar. I usually like to come in here and go multi-factor. And let's see if it comes up. Yeah, so here we go. They call it two-factor authentication. It's the same thing. Two-factor authentication. Get a special login code or prompt when there's a login from an unfamiliar device or browser. Get a special login code or prompt when there's a login on an unfamiliar browser or device. It doesn't matter which one of these you click on. It's going to help you set it up for either account, right? So in this case, for two-factor authentication, you're going to have to set it up for both accounts. This is one of the few settings that doesn't actually translate over to Instagram. So I'm just going to choose Facebook. And I'm going to put my password in. Now, because I use one password, all I got to do, I have to unlock my one password. So you guys are going to get to see me unlock my one password. That didn't work. Check your password and try again. Okay, I'm sorry, guys. I don't want to like waste your guys' time with this, but basically, you re-enter your password. There's probably something going on with my the way I'm keying in my password, but you just re-enter your password here, your password for Facebook, and then it prompts you to set up your two-factor authentication. So I don't want to like waste your time while I'm trying to like log into my one password app. So something clearly is like freaking out with my one password app right now, but don't fear it. Rarely ever happens, and this is probably user error. It's probably not one password. There it goes. Okay, yeah, it's because I was sharing my screen, guys. So one password, again, these apps are like really they're trying to protect you from making dumb mistakes, right? So let's do the Facebook thing real quick just so you can see it, just so I can complete my thought here on this. Yeah. And then and actually again, you can go to settings and privacy and then just go straight to privacy center. But either way, it doesn't matter. Just use the search bar up here and type in two-factor and it should populate. There we go. Two-factor authentication. Boom. And so I'm going to set it up for Facebook. I'm going to plug in my password. And here we go. So this is what you're going to get presented with. In your case, there's not going to be anything set up. So you're going to click this top one, Authenticator app, right? You'll literally click on this and it's going to prompt you to turn all this stuff on. Because mine's already set up, it looks different than what you guys are going to see. So right here, so you see this big plus symbol down on the bottom right corner of the app? You just click on that little plus symbol and you see where it says enter a setup key or scan by QR code. You just click scan by QR code. It opens up a camera. There's my computer screen. I'm going to do the infinity thing so you can see my screen. But it would scan the QR code that gets presented from Facebook, and boom, now you've got codes being generated for your Facebook. So, and if you guys have questions about this, we can talk about it during the breakout rooms or after the call. The quicker you get it set up for all your applications, the more protected you're going to be, better off you're going to be. This one, we'll just go through this really quick. Stop clicking on links in your emails. I see this all the time. In fact, one of the most common ways for people to get hacked is across the board. I'm talking across the board is through phishing emails. Do any of you guys know what a phishing email is? If you do, give me a one in the chat. I just want to see what I'm dealing with. Have you heard that term before? For example, phishing email?
Yeah, Justin, why don't you explain that for people that are new and might not know what that is?
Sure. So a phishing email is a malicious email that's sent from an attacker, from a hacker, if you want to use that term, but sent from an attacker who is trying to trick you into clicking on a link or downloading something to your computer in order to gain access to your system, either gain access to your system or steal data from your system, right? And these emails that come in from the bad guys, there are a lot of telltale signs that they're bad emails. Okay. One of the top ways to know if it's a phishing email, look at grammatical errors. If it's coming from FedEx and they've got a bunch of misspelled words and it looks like the person who typed out the email, maybe like English wasn't their first language, that's a big tip off that it's probably a phishing email, right? The best way though is to check the actual, and I actually took some screenshots of some example phishing emails, but the best way to do this is to check who sent you the email, right? Like if I got a message here from Netflix, do you think Netflix would be sending me an email from this email address? Probably not.
Probably not. Yeah.
Probably not. Right. So that's the very first thing I tell people to look at. Look at who is actually sending you the email. And sometimes they go to lengths to keep this from you. They try and bury it behind like a header so you can't see it. But you can always, if you use Outlook or if you use Gmail, there are ways to see who's sending you the message. And in Outlook, honestly, in Outlook, they should present to you. You should be able to click up here at the top and expand this to see the reply to message, and you'll be able to see who sent you the email, who the actual email address was that sent you the email. And then again, inside this email, we can see, you know, they've got a big click here button. You know, this one's actually not bad. This one's would trick some people, right? This would definitely trick some people. I don't see any big major misspellings or grammatical errors in here. So this one's not bad. In this case, one of the few ways you'd be able to tell is by this email. Notice these two question marks here, right? There's no sender address, it looks like, or it's having trouble validating this email address. Whenever you see that, that should be a big red flag. And here's a couple other examples, right? So we got this Amazon email, right? Do not reply apponline.info. That's not amazon.com. And then we can see here, let's see, Black Friday is here. They probably just copied a real ad from Amazon and just plugged it into the email. So you're probably not going to find a bunch of grammatical errors in this one. Yeah, so that's what they did there. But like look at this one here. This is another good one. Wells Fargo. Clearly that's not from Wells Fargo, right? And then the other thing, when you're looking at your emails, if good rule, if you're not sure, just don't click on it. In fact, I would just say don't click on it, period. But in Outlook, you can literally just hover over the link here. So you can see them doing that here. There's the link, right, that they want you to click on. If you just take your cursor and hover over that, it will present you with this little box. And this is actually showing you where that link is going to, right? So if this is Wells Fargo, why is it sending me to this crazy weird URL, this weird link? And the answer is it's a bad guy. That's why. So, and they're probably trying to send you to their site so they can get something onto your computer, basically. And then, yeah, this was the one that had grammatical errors in it. We found a vulnerability in a new Windows update to stop this, install and run, blah, 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 blah. Just trying to see here. See, we put in a safe Microsoft account to get scanner and help us protect Windows. Click link below. Yeah, that's not too bad. That's not too bad. Anyways, you guys get the idea. You guys are smart. There, just check for grammatical errors in these emails and check to see who sent you the email. And that's going to protect you more than anything else. And just avoid clicking on links, period. And in fact, I'll show you one that I just got not that long ago. I actually saved it so I could show it to you guys. You can see my massive um, list of files in my emails here. Let's see. Infected items. Here we go. So here we go. This is an email from that looks like it's from like some legitimate package delivery service, right? Wrong. Let me make my screen a little bit bigger. So it says, hey, you have one package waiting for delivery, and then they're telling you like there's some postal thing, going on. And what do I do? So I want to look who sent me this message. And guys, by the way, let me know if you have trouble seeing my screen. But right here in Gmail, you can click on this little down arrow, and this is going to show you sent by track your shipment. Notice how they're hiding. They don't show me the email here, right? So right above that, right above that is the email address, right? So what they do is they try and mask their email address that they're sending from by putting in this, just this word here, track your shipment, sent by track your shipment. But Gmail is smart enough, they will show you the actual email address. All you got to do is click on this little down arrow. And that's clearly like, I don't know who this is coming from, right? And then also this little button here, schedule your delivery. I don't know where that's taking me, right? So I'm not going to click on it. And unfortunately, I don't know why Gmail does this, but they don't have the hover option. So I can't just hover over this and see the URL. So what I do is I right click and I choose copy link, and then I'll just plug it into a new notepad. So I just showed this example on number 5, and then stop putting this one. I worked for in my early days in tech, like we did a lot of work with title and escrow companies, and title and escrow companies did something similar that we saw all the time, and that is they would put their team, right? You have your My Team page for your business, and they would put all their team members on this page, but they would put their phone numbers and put their team's email addresses on this page. Just stop doing that, period. If you have a My Teams page or meet our team, right? You only put their names. Just put their names. That's all you need. If you need a contact number for people to call, put your business's like general phone number, right? Or put your business's like general email address, info at my business. Don't put up your employees' email addresses and phone numbers on that page, because bad guys use that stuff. They'll go use that stuff to make it look like you're getting an email from your CEO or something, right? So there's that. And then stop sending full wire transfers. We saw this all the time with title companies. Title companies would send wire transfer requests, like the full details of the wire transfer request, through an email. And we discussed earlier, emails are just by their very design is unsecure, period. So stop sending full wire transfer details via email. It's just a bad idea. One company I just dealt with actually did it really smart. They sent me the wire instructions, but they left off some very important details. They left off the code that you need to complete the transfer. They had me call them for that code, right? So I could call their office, verify that that's the code, that I'm talking to the right people, all of that. That's how you want to do it. That was a really clever way of doing it. We used to just tell title companies and escrow companies and people doing real estate transactions, if you ever get an email from a title, escrow, or anyone requesting a wire transfer, before you do anything, you call your title company and verify that it came from them. So just FYI. And that was a big one. I watched a buyer lose $250,000. They wire transferred $250,000 to a bank in Mexico and never saw that money ever again. Once that wire transfer is gone, it's done. And I mean, they were, you can imagine, right? That was the bank's money. They lost the bank's money. And I think part of that was actually their own personal money, but it doesn't matter. They lost that money and they were calling the bank in Mexico and they were, doing everything they could to try and get them to stop payment, but it had already gone through and there's no way to track it at that point. And what do you think the bad guys did? As soon as that money hit the account, boom, that money's gone somewhere else. And this one right here, start using an ad blocker. I don't know, do any of you guys use ad blockers like for your browser, for Google Chrome or Microsoft Edge or Safari? Do any of you guys give me a one? Yeah, okay, cool. We got some cybersecurity aware people in here, but ad blockers are great. I mean, ad blockers are amazing. You can go online and go look at your favorite website without getting, bombarded with pop-ups and, ads and everything else. So I recommend one in particular. There's actually two I recommend. I recommend uBlock Origin, and I put them down here in the PDF, so you guys will have this. But uBlock Origin and AdBlock Plus, those are the two that I like the best. AdBlock Plus was one of the OGs. They came out, I think they're one of the first to come out. uBlock Origin I really like because they're just good at what they do. This is what they focus on, and they're just really good at it, and it's a nice user experience. So same thing like the 1Password, like the password vault. You literally just go to Google, you type in uBlock Origin for Google Chrome, and it'll take you to the web store, right? And here it is. I have it installed already, obviously, so it says remove from Chrome, but you would just click on this blue button here, install it, and this is what it looks like. It's a little shield up here on the top right, and I can click on it and I can turn it on or off anytime I want. And so if I go to a website where, maybe I want to see a particular ad or maybe something's like not working right, I'll turn it off and then refresh the page. uBlock will remember that. So you never have to turn it on or off ever again for that website. If you want it to stay on for that website, it'll remember that. If you want it to stay off, it'll remember that. But here's just a good example. I'm gonna go to MSN.com, because they like to put a bunch of ads on their website. So right now I've got my ad blocker on. Look at how many ads it's blocked so far. I think it says what, 58, no, 60 now. 60 ads it's blocked in the background. And these are ads, these aren't just normal ads too. These are ads that some of them are normal, but a lot of them uBlock is saying, hey, this thing is trying to get way too much information, right? And it's stopping it from showing up. If I turn off uBlock and refresh the page, let's see what happens here. See if I start getting some stuff on the side. So we got this guy up at the top here that wasn't there before. We got these guys on the sides here asking me for money. There's some other pages I can show you, but you get the idea. These little ads right here in the middle, right? Those go away. So I'm going to turn it off again so we can kind of see. Yeah. So those disappear. But I'm telling you guys, it's not just the ads you see, right? It's not just the banners and the little pop-ups that you see. There are ad tracking things going on this website that you can't see, whose their entire goal is to get your personal information, right? And sell it to data brokers. So what else? We have only a couple more here. So start using ad blockers. This gets more into like your own personal device, hygiene. Any software that you guys have on your devices that you're not actively using on a regular basis, get that crap off your device. Just remove it. Apple does a pretty good job. If you guys have Macs or iPhones, this is something you don't really need to worry about as much because iPhones and Macs do a pretty good job of hibernating the application. So like it'll basically disable the application so it's not running on your system. The big worry, the whole reason we do this is one is we install crap on our systems all the time and just forget about it. And that takes up space, it takes up resources, but more importantly, we forget about them and they don't get updated. And now you have a bunch of unpatched, unupdated applications on your devices, right? So do yourself a favor, look at what you're using on your devices and get rid of the stuff you're not actively using. Even though iPhone and Mac do a good job, I still remove crap that I don't use from my phone. So this is just a good rule, right? And then, yep, keep your devices up to date. How many of you guys have, I'm kind of curious, like how many of you guys have Windows and how many of you guys have Macs? I know, JG, you have a Mac, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, you have a Mac. So Macs do a really good job of keeping themselves up to date. They will let you know when there's an update and they will kind of force you to do it. Windows, it's gotten better, but not so much. Like a lot of times I'll get on my Windows machine and yeah, it'll be telling me, okay, so we got a pretty fair mix here. A lot of Macs, that's good. So for my Windows people, because I use both, I use Mac and Windows for my job, right? But Windows, you really got to go check, right? And actually, you don't even need to check. Just every week or every couple of weeks, restart your computer. That'll force it to do the updates, right? Um, but for your applications, this is the problem with Windows. For your applications, they don't always update. Like you have to open the application and it has to remind you, hey, there's an update, and then you got to install it, right? That's what I hate about Windows. It's like you're not helping me, Windows. You're not protecting me. If I have to remember to open the application and update it, nobody's going to do that. Like if you've installed some crap from 10 years ago that you've totally forgotten about, there's probably a limited chance you're going to open it and update it, right? So that's where we kind of come back to the make sure you're getting old applications off your system. But I would just say for both Mac and Windows, every so often reboot your system, right? And that will tell the system, hey, it's okay to run the update. I think with Mac in particular, you do have to approve it, but Mac does a much better job of like popping stuff up in front of you saying, hey, dummy, remember to update your computer. So yeah, update your systems. We have already kind of talked about this. We don't need to go into too much of this, but secure your social media. JJ does an amazing job of telling you guys sort of the main points of securing your social media. I would just add that multi-factor authentication piece, and you guys should be pretty good. Stop sharing who your friends are, right? Make the stuff that needs to be private. In Facebook, honestly, there's so much good literature online that you can find, even with Instagram too. How do I secure my Facebook account? And there's article after article. There's even YouTube videos where people will literally walk you through it. So do yourself a favor if you're not sure, or if you haven't followed JJ's recommendations on Facebook and Instagram, or as far as especially Facebook, look these up and watch the videos because they are good. I've watched most of these videos, at least the top videos, and they're good. They tell you the right stuff to do, and it's worth it. So there's that. And the good news again with Facebook and Instagram is the stuff you choose on the Facebook side, they give you the option to transfer that same setting for the most part over to Instagram. So you kind of kill two birds with one stone type of thing. And then backup. This is everybody. I hate this topic personally. Backup is one of those things like, what are you going to do if your computer or your phone, let's just say your phone gets lost or someone steals your phone, or nobody really steals iPhones anymore, but let's say you lose your device or it breaks, or let's say your Windows computer just suddenly stops working. What are you going to do? Like, where's all of your data? Right? Is it stored somewhere where you can maybe get it back again? I'd hope, right? So that's what backup is talking about. We want to make sure on a regular basis we're backing up our important information because remember, all our stuff is it's all stored digitally. So it's, unfortunately, it doesn't take much for people to lose their stuff. And this is another thing I've seen a lot of. I've dealt with a lot of really sad situations where people lost pictures of their loved ones that they only had one picture of, or just stuff like that. Don't let that happen. Back up your devices. I think so. On if your iPhone and Mac, again, this is why I like iPhone and Macs. They make this process really pretty easy. All you got to do is set up one iCloud. You just sign into your Apple account and you enable iCloud backup on your iPhone, and it will back up your entire iPhone. So you will never lose as long as you're doing regular iCloud backups on your iPhone. You'll never lose your data. So on an iPhone, what that looks like, I'll just show you real quick. So you go to your settings, and up at the top there, you can see my name, my Apple ID. You want to click on that top bar up there. And then we see where it says iCloud. I'm paying for 50 gigs of data, which even that's probably not enough for me, but click on iCloud. And right down there at the bottom, see where it says iCloud backup? I'm going to scroll up a little bit right there, iCloud backup. You just click on that, enable it. You get 5 gigabytes of data for free that they'll back up. If you want any more than that, you've got to upgrade your iCloud account. So unfortunately, there is a little bit of a cost to that, but it's well worth it
Yeah, and it's
because
not much of a cost at all,
it's
really.
not much of a cost either. Yeah, that's true. So, and it's well worth it because I get new phones all the time. And when I get new phones, it's just so simple to transfer everything over to my new phone, right? Apple does a really good job with this. Anyway, we talked about backup. We're almost done here. Make sure you're on a legitimate company website. So if you're going to a website to download something, to look at something, whatever it is, make sure you're on that company's website, right? And there's a couple ways to find out to know for sure. Like on MSN, for example, okay, if I look at the top here, and I know my screen's a little small probably, but anyways, up at the top here, the URL bar. So I use that term and people are like, what are you talking about? This bar up here at the top, that is the URL bar. This is literally telling you a URL is just an address. It's just the address to the website you're going to, right? And it'll show you right up here the name of the website, right there, the name of the domain that you're going to. This is actually called a domain name. That's what we call it in the industry. It's a domain name. MSN.com is a web domain name. And when you're going to a website, what I like about Google Chrome is it'll show you, you can click on these little dots right here, and it'll show you connection is secure. So you know your connection is encrypted. That's a good sign that you're on a legitimate website, but not totally, because the bad guys are doing this too, where they're securing their websites. So, but that's the first thing. Check if it's secure. Okay, cool. The next thing I'm going to look at is, am I on MSN.com? And I am, right? All you got to do, double click in the URL bar and it'll show you this little HTTPS. That's how you know the connection is secure to that website. I won't get into that whole thing, but just know that that means it's secure. HTTPS stands for Hypertext Transfer Protocol Secure. That's what that means. So anyway, www.msn.com. I know I'm on the MSN website, right? The problem is what bad guys will do is they will make websites. They'll create register domain names that are so close. They'll make it look so close to the actual website's name that it's hard to tell unless you actually look at it. Like I've seen for Apple, let's go look at Apple's com. 1 second. Let's go to the main page here. So apple.com, I've seen it where the bad guys made a site where it looked like this. Here, I'm just going to type it out on my Word doc here so you can see it. But they made the domain name look like this: www.apple.com. If you're not looking carefully at that when you go to the website, you'll miss it, right? So they have a name for that. I can't for the life of me, I can't remember what they call that. Where you mess with the letters like that and make
Like
it look
spoofing or
similar.
something?
What's that?
Spoofing?
Well, it's yeah, but there's a different name for it. Anyway, it doesn't really matter. The point is they're making it look similar to the Apple website, and they will trick you if you're not actually checking it. So the big point is when you go to these sites, look up here at this bar and check to make sure you're on the legitimate website. So what I show on the PDF is I show a couple examples. So one is I checked the URL bar. I can see it's apple.com, but sometimes you'll be on the Apple website and it'll take you to what's known as a subdomain, right? So you've got apple.com, which is the primary domain name, and then you've got subdomains of apple.com. So secure.store is a subdomain of apple.com. And I know like people are like, what are you talking about? So it doesn't really matter. What you need to know is as long as apple.com is at the end of this, so you read it from left to right, right? As long as apple.com is at the end, you're good. All this other junk up here, all this other stuff besides the HTTPS, all the other words up here don't matter. As long as you see apple.com, you're good. You're on the right website. Okay. And that's exactly how you want to read these URLs up here in the bar. So so make sure you're on the right website. I've seen many people get spoofed, myself included. I've gotten tricked. I've been on websites that I thought were the legitimate website and we're not. So keep that in mind. This is the end of the presentation. Obviously, this is a huge topic, guys. There's so much to talk about and so much always going on in this field. The point is we're all of us are technology people, like whether you like it or not. We're all technology businesses because we're using technology. You can't avoid it. So the more you know about this stuff, these main points here, these are just cybersecurity best practices. Um, I'm not suggesting that you guys all need to become cybersecurity experts, but the more you're educated in this topic just from a really high level, the better off you're going to be and the better off your teams are going to be. So what I would say also, one thing I maybe could add to this PDF is train your teams. And there are companies that will do that for you. You don't even have to do it yourself. There are companies like, I like this company a lot and I'll show you. No B4. Very famous company, and they'll do stuff for your business. They will send all of your employees fake phishing emails to see how many of your employees are catching it, right? And then they'll tell you like, oh, you had 20 employees click on this link, and then you get to have a conversation with your employees. Hey, knuckleheads, stop clicking on links in phishing emails, please. But they do more than that. They'll actually, now they're not super cheap, but they do an amazing job of training. They also have some less expensive training seminars you can send your employees to. So I really like KnowBe4. They do an amazing job. Their whole mission in life is to train everybody, is to get everybody cyber aware and train companies and employees and all that. So I love them for that. And I think that's pretty much it. I mean, unless you guys have any questions, we could maybe ask some questions if you want. I can, or answer your questions rather, but that's basically it.
Well, that sounds awesome, brother. Hey, do we have any questions at all about security, cybersecurity for real estate investors? Anybody have anything at all? Melissa Butts, you were on with Justin Cremer. What's your question?
Thanks, JJ. Hi, Justin. Great presentation.
Thank you. Appreciate that.
I actually have a couple of questions for you.
Mhm.
The first one is when you were talking about your passwords and stuff like that,
Mhm.
if you go into your system, and I have a Windows, so when you go into your system and you clear the cookies,
Mhm.
if I have all of my passwords saved into a vault, when I clear my cookies, that clears all that prompting that comes up automatically. So you have to go in and redo it automatically. Is that part of clearing cookies?
Yes.
Or-
Yeah.
Okay.
That is. Yeah, because all cookies are, guys, is just a way for a website to remember the stuff you did the last time you visited that website. Think of it that way. It's like a website's memory of you and what you did the last time you visited, right? So, data brokers and people like that will do similar stuff. They'll track what you do online, and cookies are sort of are in that same sort of vein. They're ways for websites, again, to memorize or remember what activity you did the last time you were on that site, right?
Okay, the other question I have is the gentleman that I use to,
Mhm.
if I have problems with my computer or need, an update or something, he told me that I should not be using Chrome to use Edge or Foxfire because Chrome slows your computer system down and it sucks too much out of it.
So he's not wrong, first of all. Chrome is notoriously heavy on resources on a computer. As they continually make improvements to Chrome, they're trying to get better with memory. What he's talking about is CPU and memory utilization usage on your system.
Yeah.
And as Chrome gets updated more and more, they're making efforts to try and manage that better. For example, I don't know if any of you guys have seen recently, if you use Chrome, what'll happen is if you have a bunch of tabs that you just leave open, after a certain amount of time, the tab will go dormant.
Is this where someone just needs more memory, or they need a larger hard drive, or they need a bigger processor?
Yes.
All the above.
Yes.
Okay.
No, it's really about, I mean, honestly, it's really about memory and CPU, if I'm honest. But Chrome kind of uses all of that stuff a lot, right?
Yeah. Because mine told
Most,
me that I shouldn't be keeping more than 15 to 20 tabs open. He said if
yeah,
you're more than
he's not
that,
wrong.
he said you're putting yourself at high risk.
Yeah, he's not wrong, because what happens is your system runs out of memory, right? It,
Okay.
it starts it starts getting really low on memory, and weird things can happen when that starts to happen.
Okay.
So yeah,
Cool. Thank
good
you.
question though.
Anthony, what you're on with Justin? What's your question?
My email got spammed. And so I've been clicking on unsubscribe forever at this point. And now I'm like, oh, I've been clicking on their links. Like when you click on the link, what does it actually do? And plus I'm on a Mac. So am I secure even though I'm clicking on those links, or I'm still open?
Well, so yes, you're more secure on a Mac, and you're more secure on a Mac for a couple of reasons. First of all, Macs have viruses and malware too. Macs are not impervious to getting infected, right? It's just that Apple Mac computers in general, they have a lower market share, right? Windows and Linux carry the vast majority of the market, right? So if I'm a malware guy, or if I'm an email phishing guy that's trying to get onto your system, I'm going to write my stuff to probably break into Windows or Linux because there's more of them, right? That's so sort of like security by obscurity, right? Kind of thing. But so you're secure in that way, but also Mac does, Apple in particular does a lot of work. I mean, they're the security company. They build themselves as a security company, and they're doing a lot of things. Like, for example, you can't in the App Store, you cannot deviate from the apps that Apple vets and curates, right? That you have to use those things. You can't, there used to be a thing with iPhone where you could jailbreak your iPhone and go to, like, you can still sort of do that, but all that means is that you're able to go install apps that Apple doesn't sanction, that Apple hasn't vetted. Point I'm trying to make is Apple does a really good job of keeping you in their kind of like walled garden, if you will. And so you're secure in that way too, right? But that being said, you're getting spammed emails. Those spammed emails don't necessarily have anything to do with your Mac. You're hitting unsubscribe. It really depends on what. I would have to look at the emails, right, to know what they're trying to do. Clicking on the links could do many things. It could take you to a malicious site where they do a little drive-by download, or they attempt to get something downloaded onto your system. It could just be taking you to a site that's trying to steal your cookies, or trying to, steal your information, stuff like that. A lot of times it's not it's not as crazy as all that. Really, what a lot of times what it is you'll go to the website and they're trying to trick you into calling a phone number or something. You know what I mean? Trying to trick you to call or give someone money or whatever. And there's a lot of them, unfortunately. But if you're still getting spammed, the best thing you can do is, one, if you have a junk folder, start moving those into junk. But who's your email provider?
I use well, I the one that got spammed is actually my Apple email. Like
Oh,
it's
it's your Apple email.
yeah.
Interesting. Okay, so I don't use Apple email, so I would have to research that a little bit, but there should be a way for you to start reporting these emails as spam. Stop clicking unsubscribe, just delete them, move them into your junk, right? Because when you move them into junk, it tells the Apple email servers essentially that you don't like something about those emails, right?
Yeah.
So do that, and then I would see if there's a way to log into your Apple Mail online, for example, like go into the actual web mail and
Yeah.
and go in there and see if you can see if they'll let you mark stuff as spam. Right? Do you have is the email like set up on your like local computer? Like
Yeah.
yeah. So log into Apple Mail online and go see if you can mark those things as spam there.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, it was stolen. I think I had it on AT&T's website. I like on one of the companies that they got broken into, and so my data got stolen.
Ugh.
And ever since then, I've been getting ads from everywhere.
Yeah, data, and a lot of this stuff gets, believe it or not, a lot of this stuff gets sold to data brokers. A lot of this stuff gets sold to, people on the dark web. We can have a whole discussion about the dark web and what that even is, but it's essentially the web for bad guys, kind of a thing, where they sell illegal stuff, they sell your data, that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
But data brokers, they're some of the most vile people you will ever not meet. They like their whole business model is collecting as much information on you as possible so that they can curate marketing materials, so they can sell your information to businesses, to marketing agencies, that kind of stuff. So whole business model is just getting as much information and invading your privacy as much as they possibly can. And unfortunately, in the United States, we do not have very good privacy laws. They're getting better, sort of, in some states. But like if you go over to Europe, if you go over to Italy, France, any one of those countries, there's something called the General Data Protection Regulation that was passed in the European Union that is highly, highly favorable to us, to people, right? To the people. Like it makes businesses, you cannot do a lot of the same stuff you are able to do in the United States over in Europe, or you will, what happens is they fine you, and they don't just like, when you hear of a company getting fined in the United States, it's like, oh, they got fined like $10 million, but they're like a $1 billion a year company. So what's two or $10 million? Who cares? Right? They would keep doing it knowing they have to pay that 10 million because they're going to make 100 million on it, right? So like these fines in the United States don't mean anything most of the time. Not so in Europe. In Europe, if you get caught breaching GDPR is the acronym for General Data Protection, but GDPR, if you get caught breaching that, you get fined a large percentage of your gross income. Like they look at your gross income and they say, okay, we're going to take 25% of that. We're going to take 30% of that. And so companies are like, oh, whoops. Okay. Okay. We'll stop. We'll follow the rules. But unfortunately, we don't have stuff like that in the United States. So you just have to take measures here. But ultimately, things are getting better slowly but surely, but you should make sure that, you're doing what you can. Like those emails, for example, like you really are going to have to be a little bit proactive, it sounds like, right? So,
Yeah. Okay. All right. Well, thank you.
Troy, you're on with Justin Cremer. What's your question?
I use incognito,
mhm.
and using that, I have trouble setting up two-factor identification.
Oh, because you're using incognito?
Yes.
So when you go into Facebook, like for example, Facebook, and you log in with incognito mode and you go to set up two-factor, what does it do?
It doesn't recognize it. It says I can't do it.
Oh, interesting. That's the first time I've heard that. Well, then what I would say is don't use incognito. Like you're gonna have to log in without incognito and go see if it recognizes you.
Guys,
Uh,
what is
there,
incognito?
so incognito mode, just so you know, it doesn't make you private. Okay.
No.
It's not making you, it's not preventing websites from tracking what you're doing and stuff like that. What incognito mode does is it doesn't remember, save any history, save any cookies, save any of that stuff. But if you're actively doing stuff on someone's website, they can still see where you're coming from. They can still see your IP address. They can still see what you're doing on their website. They can still track all that stuff. Right. So it's not, people use incognito mode thinking that it's like a panacea, like it's gonna keep Google from tracking me. And it does sort of, but not really. Right. Let's just say it like that. So you're better off, honestly, Troy, you're better off using an ad blocker and just being careful where you go and what you do online. Like just be checking the sites that you're going to. But an ad blocker is going to do way more. And I would say, okay, say this: incognito mode along with an ad blocker will go a long way to helping protect you. But also, if you're worried about being tracked, maybe instead of using Google to do your searching, like use DuckDuckGo. I don't know if any of you guys have heard of DuckDuckGo. It's a search engine that doesn't remember anything. It doesn't remember or track anything that you do.
And then when it comes to email, if it's looks like it comes from a company,
Mhm.
I don't click anything in that. I actually go direct to the company myself.
Smart. Yeah. I've done I don't click anything in emails anymore. I honestly don't. I just, if I get an email that says like, oh, your shipment is ready, or your shipment's on the way, or your order was delivered, or whatever it is, I'll literally just go to Amazon, or I'll go directly to Amazon, or I'll go wherever that website is and go check in my account, right? I won't click on the link from the email.
Yeah.
Even though it's convenient to just like click the link, I just got out of that habit of doing that.
Yeah, I would say because I just don't trust links
No,
most
I
of the
don't
time.
either. Yeah, I'm not super tinfoil hat, but I'm halfway there.
Yvonne and Mark, you are on with Justin. What's your question?
Thank you guys for putting this presentation together to save the world.
Yeah, man.
It's,
Yeah, man.
what do you got? What do you think about the AI and like banking apps now? When you call in, they're asking you to use your voice as your password and stuff like that.
Now you're
You know, yeah, no comment. No, I honestly, I don't know enough about what they're trying to do with that information. I mean, the AI voice recognition could be a good thing, man. You know what I mean? It really could, because banking and financial businesses like real estate investors, real estate brokerages, financial advisors, all these financial companies and businesses are at the top of the stack for being attacked. Like it's just the way it is, right? And so they're having to find new ways to secure things. And obviously the big push with AI, right? There's a lot of utility in AI for things like pattern recognition, voice recognition, things like that. So it could be a good thing. It could be a way to help secure your bank account, for example. Although what I will say is you can use AI to mimic someone's voice too. So I don't know that voice recognition is like the end all be all, right, for bank security. Me personally, if my bank was asking me to record my voice in order to get into the bank account, I would probably refuse to do it, because I mean, I don't know, it's kind of a catch-22, because look, my voice, your voice, our voice is already on the internet. So what does it matter at that point? You know? So I don't know. I would need to know a little bit more about what they're doing with that.
No, I mean the brokerage account. When I signed up for my brokerage account, it says, "Hey, say this phrase to me." It's actually legit.
Oh, I see.
It's actually
Okay.
legit from Schwab.
Yeah.
And I'm
Yeah,
like,
yeah,
"Hey,
yeah.
say this phrase 3 times."
Right. Right.
It's
Um,
legit.
yeah, I think that can go a long way to actually helping secure your account. I do. There are certain things that they can do with voice and pattern recognition that can help secure you. So I don't think it's necessarily a bad thing. I would just need to know a little bit more about how it works, you know?
But I do like the what you had, that password keeper. I
Mhm.
have a RSA device for my banking thing, and anytime I really want to start moving money around, it
Yeah.
asks me for that code right away, and it's like, hey, you got like basically a minute to get that stuff done. So if
Yeah.
you're typing the wire in and everything, like
Yeah.
you basically got a minute to get it done, and
Mhm.
that's it. So you
Yeah.
can't,
Yeah.
but the RSA device is really handy. When you showed your app, it looked like you just had a bunch of RSA devices, which I think is pretty cool. I love the dual factor authentication, sends me a text message, but in the office hours, you were talking about that they can spoof a phone number too. So
Mhm.
that's another thing they can clone off, so it's like a war out here.
It is 100%. It is a war out there. It really is. It's a battle, never ending battle, it seems like. But um, you know, I think ultimately, like if anybody gets anything from this talk, it's that you being educated and being aware is going to protect you far better than some antivirus program is going to protect you, or some, like, you know, I don't know, software or whatever that you're depending on. Like even an ad block, like just knowing what to kind of look out for is far better than all of that, right? For example, back in the day when you got a virus on your system, like viruses were, we kind of remember, like for those who are old enough, like when you got a virus, it was pretty clear you had a virus on your system. Like your system would slow down, you'd get a bunch of like weird messages or whatever. You knew you had a virus probably, right? Nowadays, that's not true. If you get malware and or a virus on your system, they're built to hide and to not show themselves. Like, so you're in a lot of cases, you won't even know that you're infected. So how do you prevent that from happening in the first place? Most antivirus software, third-party antivirus software like Bitdefender, they are good at detecting stuff like that and behavior like that. But the point is, how do you prevent yourself from even getting infected in the first place? And the reality is knowing the best practices, knowing, being aware, keeping yourself kind of aware of the best practices, like not clicking stuff in emails. If you go, make sure you're on the right website. Don't just like download crap from websites that you're not sure of. Use an ad blocker. All this stuff, multi-factor authentication, all that stuff is going to help prevent you from getting that crap on your computer in the first place. And the reality is, antivirus software, in a lot of cases, because think about it, antivirus software has to get its hooks into your system in order to do its job, right? It has to get down into the guts of the system in order to protect you. Well, in that very process of doing that, in a lot of cases, the antivirus programs are making you vulnerable to other types of stuff, right? It's crazy, right? So for my Windows computer, for example, I don't have any antivirus. I use the built-in Windows Defender antivirus software, because who knows Windows better than Windows? Why would I go pay for something? They actually did a test like about 4 years ago. I was actually a little bit longer than that, but they put Windows Defender up against some of the top paid antivirus programs. Windows Defender came in number 2, and it's free. And I mean, you don't need all the super expensive antivirus stuff, because your education awareness is going to protect you far more than that, right?
But we were also talking about what the heck is it, and even the code of the OS, anyways. I
Yeah,
mean,
yeah,
it's freaking gigabytes now. It used to fit on floppy
yeah.
disks.
I know it's enormous. And by the way, nobody at Microsoft, no one or two people understand what is going on. It understands all of what's going on with Windows. Nobody. Like that whole team of people that built Windows is long gone. So everybody there now, it's like small teams of people understand bits of it, but nobody understands the whole picture, which is kind of scary, quite honestly. But you know, that's just the nature of it.
Thumbprints, you said?
Yes. What about thumbprints when
What's
you
that?
have your bank some of the banking?
Biometrics?
Yeah, your
Biometric.
biometrics and your
Yeah.
thumbprint on the phone.
It's just, you can think of it as another factor of authentication. So you've got your username and password, that's one factor. You've got your multi-factor code, that's your second factor of authentication. You've got your voice recognition, that's your third factor. And then you've got fingerprint or biometrics, that's four factors of authentication, right? So the more you have, the better, the more secure you are, really. Because if I'm a bad guy, I now have to have all four of those things in order to get into your account, right? That's the way you got to look at it.
Yeah, we got to walk around worried all day. That's what it is.
Yeah.
No, you know what? You really don't. You just need to be smart. Just be smart about it. If you're not sure, don't click on it. If you're not sure, don't go there. Don't download. Don't do anything. Like,
Well,
just,
you got me really concerned about emails now and things of that nature. Hey, so
Yeah.
Mark, did that answer your question?
Yeah.
Absolutely. I was just wondering if we had lesson on BitTorrents and everything like that, you know.
Oh no.
That'll probably be coming up in the future.
yeah.
All right, guys, we got one more person with a question, then we're going to move on. Thanks, guys. What's up, Melissa?
Actually, a couple things. First of all, I wanted to know if you clear your history inside of your computer, does that matter one way or the other? Does that help or hinder or anything?
Well, it depends. You don't want people to know what you're doing on your, I'm just kidding. Yeah, so if you clear your history, you're basically wiping out again sort of your browser's memory of what you're doing. Cookies are more along those lines of like making sure when you click on little, for example, you clear your cookies, right? And then you go back to that same website. When you click on the fields in that website, it won't remember, it won't give you the little drop down with the stuff that you put in there before, right? It won't let you see your username and password like it did before. That's what cookies do. The history allows your browser to do things like quickly render the web page, right? So like if you are always going to the same website all the time, rather than your computer always having to reach out to the internet, ask the web server for that web page and then pulling it down, what it does is it stores a copy of that web page on your local computer, believe it or not. It stores a copy of that, and that's part of the history. So your computer system stores a copy of that website. That way, when you go back to that website the second time, it comes up really fast, right?
Okay.
And so when you delete your history, you're making your computer go back out again and pull down new information, really, right? So deleting your history is really about like, I want to kind of refresh my system. I want, something weird is going on with my browser.
Justin, would deleting your history also be if you're sharing your computer with other people?
Oh yeah, I mean, certainly if you don't want people to know, like someone else who gets on your computer and is looking at, opening your browser and kind of going and visiting those same websites, if you don't want them to know what you were doing, then yeah, deleting your history is beneficial. But I mean, if someone else is getting on your computer and looking at your history, you've got, in my opinion, you've got bigger problems than.
So let's say, for example, someone lives by themselves. They're the only person that uses their computer. It's probably not a big necessity to have to clear the history, right?
No, not really. I mean, it helps every once in a while. It helps to clear out cookies and history just to kind of give your system a little kick in the butt. You know what I mean? Because especially on Windows computers, if you use them long enough, they start building up cruft, is the best way I can describe it. You get files and junk and stuff starts getting stored, and you need to kind of clean that crap out every so often, right? So if you want to keep Google Chrome, for example, running at its best, I would say every couple months, 2-3 months, maybe clear out your cookies and history just to give it kind of a kick. But remember, when you do that, you're going to have to type everything in again, right? You're going to have to right? And your system's going to have to pull all that stuff down, and it's going to take longer to render the web. I mean, it's honestly negligible. Systems are so fast. The internet's fast enough now to where you're not really going to notice a lot of that anyway.
Okay.
But yeah, it's good to do every so often. Just like it's good to restart your computer every couple of weeks, I would say. I mean, just so you guys know, computers like to be off or they like to be on, one or the other. They don't like being turned off and turned on every single day, right? Because they have to spin up, they have to turn the fan, they have to do all this crap every time you turn them on and turn them off.
So you're saying once every couple of months or every couple of weeks?
Every couple of weeks, restart your system, right? I honestly, both of my computers stay on and I restart them maybe every other week.
Brother, you dropping some serious nuggets. I'm going to want to follow up with you as well, because I have questions about that 1Password, and I'm not going to take everybody's time with that, but
Yeah.
I want to follow up with that.
Absolutely.
I really, really thank you for coming on today. I've learned a lot as well.
Oh, thank
I'm
you.
sitting here looking at my mail half the time as we're on the call.
Yeah, don't let it keep you up at night. It's not worth it.
Yeah, and I got this, whatever. I'm kind of anal about some stuff, so I want to get in there and just tweak all of it.
I'm the same way. I totally get it.
Yeah. So let me ask you about two things here. If people want to follow up with you, what's the best way? Would it be your MySpace page or Snapchat?
Definitely MySpace. Yeah, definitely MySpace. And then also, I check my DMs all the time. So hit me up on Instagram at jcremer11. That's at JCREMER11 for Instagram. And I'll hit you back. Also, I do real estate investing, guys, too, just so you know.
Great. So Instagram probably be the best way for people to reach out with you for a message. Last question. I talk about it all the time, the importance of networking to build our business. We've got people coming to the networking world of Facebook for various education groups every single day, new and experienced investors coming frequently for the first time to use Facebook as a business tool. As they're using Facebook to network with their community, what is the importance of networking itself or joining a group like mine to the success of someone's business?
I mean, networking relationships mean everything. That's the lifeblood. I mean, coming in here and meeting the people I've met in here has been instrumental. There's just so many good people in here, and your network, like you always say, JJ, your network is your network. And I remember when I first heard that, it didn't click until I started coming in here and started doing the business and realizing, like, it means everything. It means everything. This is a business of relationships. So it means everything.
There you go, bro. Hey, I really appreciate you. Hey, if you guys are watching on YouTube right now, please like Justin's video. Please put your takeaways in the comment section, what you found informative and important. And if there's ways that we can improve what we're doing, please put those in there as well. Always trying to bring you better product and improve whatever service and information we can provide you. Again, if you want to follow with Justin, go to his Instagram page, which is jcremer, CREMER 11 at Instagram. You want to connect with myself, I've got my Instagram link up here and my website, jjziesen.com. This little link over here, this QR code, is to register for my networking group. Again, go to my website, jjziesen.com. There's a little pulsating register now button, and you can just scan the QR code. If you're on the call right now, guys, don't go away. We're going to wrap up with some breakout rooms and some live networking. And Justin, I guess you and I are going to continue to network, and go to some baseball games and football games. And
100%, man.
We'll see everybody else out there on the virtual world of Facebook and Instagram, right?
Mm-hmm.